to the side. That's just because I'm checking volume and stuff like that. So that's what I'm doing over there.
Sweet. Sounds good.
Cool. So I got that. Wonderful. And then we'll have a wonderful awkward silence, and then we'll get started. All right. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So we'll start out where everybody else does. As far as early as you can remember to like middle school, what type of activities were you into?
It's funny because back then I was doing almost next to nothing.
Okay.
I was in a dance program. I really enjoyed singing when I was younger.
Mhm.
And there's a program in my area. It's called the Young Canadians.
Okay.
And they put on like a big show. And so it was great for singing, but I also had to learn how to dance. And so
Okay.
that was like the little bit of exercise that I did. It was a fair amount sometimes, but
Mhm.
it was nothing crazy, nothing
Right.
insane.
So what got you into that program? Was that your parents were like were they also singing dance type people, or what brought you there?
No, I really liked singing when I was a kid. Like I
Mhm.
remember we actually had a rule at the dinner table. It was like no singing at the dinner table. You could sing anywhere else, but not at the dinner table. So I
Yeah.
really liked singing, so they wanted to put me into some programs like that. So
Mhm.
they found this one and they were like, "Oh, this would be so great for you." And it was a great program.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So what does singing look like at a young age? Because I think I was in choir once, and they literally just gave us our lines. They didn't really teach us how to sing, but I think at a young age, I wasn't really listening very well, anyways.
yeah, I've taken a few voice lessons. Some of it's just like, here's your lines, sing this. Some of it's more like this is what you need to be focused on for like your breathing, for like your breath support, for like here's some like exercises in order to practice your pitch and
Hmm.
get stronger in like belting and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But
Do
yeah,
you
some programs are definitely just like, here's your notes and sing it.
right? So do you feel like that stuff was pretty helpful? Because some people, I feel like it's just natural, but I think a lot of people have to work on it. Did those little tips and tricks seem pretty beneficial?
Yeah, for singing, yeah. I never felt like I was an amazing singer or anything. Like
Hmm.
I definitely needed the practice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was actually surprised by how effective they were. Like anyone could learn how to sing.
Hey, there's hope. There's hope.
There's hope for everyone. Yeah.
That's what I like to hear. It was at a friend's wedding, and it was karaoke, and I was singing, if you can call it that. I had a microphone and noises were coming out of my mouth, but singing was, I don't think people would categorize it as that. But as far as the dance and stuff went, was that something that you're also into, or you're like, hey, I'm kind of here for the singing, but the dance comes second, or what was the dance like for you?
I kind of felt like I'm kind of here for the singing, but the dance comes second. But now that I think back to it, I really wish I prioritized it more. Like I
Hmm.
think dancing is really cool. It'd be cool to learn how to dance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't the best at it. I was able to kind of follow some choreography if they showed me what to do. But
Hmm.
yeah, I was never the best dancer.
Hmm. So
Wish
as far as classes went, was it everything leading up to this one day of performance for like a whole year, or what was kind of your schedule as far as like a student in this class?
Yeah, pretty much. There were a couple shows, but usually it was like months of training before an actual show. I don't know if
Hmm.
you've heard of the Calgary Stampede. I'm from
I have not.
Calgary. It's this like big event that happens in like our city. It's kind of a worldwide event. Like there's a lot of people that come from a lot of different places to come.
Okay.
It's like basically like a big fair.
Hmm.
And there's also this show that I was in, which is like a huge show. There's like a fireworks show at the end, and I think there's like 10,000 people in the audience or something. So it's a relatively big show, and it prepares for that.
Okay.
So at the end, so we'll train for a couple months for that show. There's a few other shows around the year, but like that's the
Hmm.
really big show that pays for the program.
For sure. So how old were you when you were going through this program?
I did this. Um, I did it for like 8 years. I did it for
Wow.
yeah,
Wow, that's a long time.
yeah. So let me see. I'm 19 now. I probably would have started when I was like 8.
So how did you try out when you're 8, or how do you is this how does that even work?
Yeah, they have like an audition process, and so I'd
Mhm.
go to that, and they'd see how well you are at singing and at dance. I didn't actually make the first year. I think I tried out when I was like 7, and they were like, "Yeah, you're good at singing, but you can't dance. So we'll come back next time and try again."
That's wild at 7 that they even had. I feel like they would not even have enough people trying out, but apparently it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, apparently it is. I was surprised. Sometimes there's a lot more girls that audition than
Yeah,
guys, and so sometimes the guys were just kind of like, "Well, you showed up, so you're in." But
yeah,
sometimes there was also a lot more competition. It just depended on the year.
yeah. Very cool. So since doing it for 8 years, was that um did that take up most of your time, or that was kind of just something that you did on the side?
It was a pretty big time commitment. I remember it was like at least for when I was young. I was also
Hmm.
taking piano lessons at the time,
Okay.
so I had to do that as well, and I had to work like an hour a day doing
Yeah.
that, and then I had lessons. But then Young Canadians was like, uh, on average, maybe like 4 or 5 times a week. But when it
Okay.
got closer to the actual the show at the end of the year, it got up there in training, where we'd be training like 8 hours a day because it got like really, yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of fun though.
That's incredible. So what did your parents have to drop you off? Was this close by, or what was the distance?
Yeah, it was not super close, but it was, like a 20-minute drive. My parents would have to drop me off.
Okay.
Eventually, as I got older, I'd be able to just like train from my school
Okay.
and then like
Wow.
pick
That
up something. Yeah.
8 hours is quite a bit. So what was it like at your first experience as far as performing in front of people on such a big stage?
Oh, I was super nervous the first time.
Hmm.
I was like, "Oh my gosh." But then I also realized, honestly, it's kind of more intimidating to perform in like a small group setting, just in
Okay.
front of your peers, because eventually like the lights are in your face and it's hard you can't see anyone in the crowd. You could see there's a crowd, but like you can't see anyone in specific. So it almost makes it feel like you're not, like there isn't a crowd, or that like you
Okay.
can't see anyone. So you're not so worried about that.
Right. Yeah, no, that and second person I've heard talking about performance that way. The intimate crowd is like they're right there for you. So
Yeah.
what was your um role, I guess, as far as like it developed throughout the years? Like what kind of changed through those 8 years for you?
Well, I was always just a singer and a dancer. I should also point out that I was kind of like background. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of people in the Young Canadians. I think there was like 150 kids in total. So it
Wow.
wasn't a small production.
Yeah.
Um, but I also wasn't like some like Broadway
Yeah.
star. Yeah. So I was just kind of, we'd have like really big blocks of choreography. It looks really cool when like a whole bunch of people do it together. So I was just one of
Mhm.
the people. And of course, we'd be singing as well.
Very cool. So other than doing the Young Canadians, what was your days like through school and whatnot?
Um, Back in like the early days,
Hmm.
I wasn't ah I never really prioritized school as much as I maybe should. I
Yeah.
always got decent grades, but I wasn't really the type of kid who would go home and spend hours on homework. I just kind
Hmm.
of do what I could in school, and then it would carry me on to the next year.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I remember like back then, Young Canadians was kind of my life. It's where most of my friend group was, because there's
Okay.
a lot of people. They're all
Yeah.
really nice. And so that was kind of where my priority was. I wasn't sure that I would do that for the rest of my life, obviously, like singing and dancing as like a career. But it was just something that I really enjoyed at the time.
Hmm.
So in terms of like school, I kind of just went there, hung out with a few friends, did my schoolwork and stuff,
Yeah.
kind of went home. I never really like prioritized it too much.
Hmm. For sure. So as far as home life at that time, when you're eating, is this something that you just ate whatever your parents put in front of you, or what did nutrition look like back then?
Yeah, I know, definitely just whatever. Like I ate whatever my parents put in front of me. It's been like that up until relatively recently, when
Hmm.
I've been trying to like, okay, now I actually have to start. And it's not like it's actually been relatively good. Like my dad is a really good cook, and he
Yeah.
just loves cooking. So
Nice.
every day after he comes home from work, he'll make like something good.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, "Oh, here's like craft dinner again." It's like, okay, I decided to make like ribs or something, or
Oh,
like I don't
wonderful.
know, like yeah, so it's great. So I've never really had to worry about that. And then, when I was really young, he'd make me breakfast as well. Now I just make my own breakfast, and then,
Yeah.
I'll still have dinner with him sometimes.
So what was your, I guess, relationship with food growing up? Were you ever conscious of like, oh, hey, like I shouldn't eat this much, like I'm full, I'm gonna stop eating? What was that like as a kid?
Um, it's kind of strange because I guess young Canadians kept me relatively fit, so I
Hmm.
never really worried about food.
Yeah.
I was a really picky eater when I was really young.
Okay.
It's so strange. Like the first food that I ate, like when I was like a toddler or something, I would only eat liver pate on crackers.
Wow,
It's such
we're
a crazy
fancy.
choice. Yeah, I don't know how it started, but my parents would be like, they'd only give me that's the only thing I wanted. I'd like a hot dog, no thank you. Liver pate on crackers. So I just eat that, and then I just kind of eat whatever. I was
Hmm.
picky, and then I became gradually less picky, but I'd still just kind of eat whatever's given to me. I really enjoyed junk food, but I didn't eat too much that I got fat, so I didn't really worry about it. But
Yeah.
then for stopping young Canadians, I guess I did overeat and I
Hmm.
did eat like a lot of junk food. And then I noticed that I did get kind of fat. So I
Yeah.
decided to
So
change that around
at what
ever since.
age did you stop Young Canadians?
I think about 3 years ago. So probably around 16.
Okay, so what kind of stopped that as far as what was the reason for that?
It was just, I was kind of getting to the end of like, they're the young Canadians. So, usually they didn't have people over like 18 anyways.
Yeah.
Um, but they also like, I just kind of decided that I wanted to pursue something else. And at the time that actually was music.
Okay.
I kind of like was trying to pursue that full time. I was making songs, I was singing every single day, and I was like, oh, I want to become a musician, which still would be
Wow.
pretty cool. My life is on a different path now.
Yeah. So what did that look like for you as far as what was your genre, or like what was making music like for you?
I really like pop music. But I also kind of like songwriting and just
Hmm.
like music writing. I found it really interesting to, I still do. I find it really interesting to like analyze content and just try and reproduce it. So like I'd be like walking my dog listening to music and figuring out like, okay, what's the bass line in this song? And like how is the bass line like produced in this song? And then I try and kind of like recreate stuff like this. And I just listen to whatever song I like at the moment, and then I just kind of try and make a song that's similar to that style.
Okay. Very cool. So is this something that you need a lot of equipment for, or what does that even look like?
The more equipment, the better.
Yeah.
I have in my basement here, I have like a keyboard and drum set, and then I also have like a microphone and like a little adapter that I just plug into my laptop. So it's not the most complicated setup. My editing software is just like Adobe Audition,
Okay.
which for people that understand music producing is mainly just for like editing podcasts. Like it's nothing special.
Hmm.
But you could do some stuff with it.
Yeah.
So you don't need to be super fancy, but if better equipment would help for sure.
Yeah. So you're freeing up 4 or 5 days worth of time not doing the Young Canadians. Was that
Mhm.
pretty much just filled up with making music, or what were you doing
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well?
100%. I was just
Wow.
spending like all that time making music, making content. I was
Hmm.
really bad at first with like the whole content side of things. Like my music was also pretty bad
Yeah.
because just like figuring out the production side of it. But yeah, in terms of like even filming and stuff, like looking back my old videos, I'm like filming into the light and it's
Yeah.
yeah.
So as far as music went, what did that look like in your mind as far as success? Was it, hey, I'm gonna write a hit single, or hey, I'm gonna be a writer? What was your kind of goal as far as the singing went?
Honestly, I wanted everything. I find I
Yeah.
always like shoot for these huge unrealistic goals, but I wanted to not only like write a hit song, but I wanted to just like be a like celebrity and like tour and sing and yeah.
Hmm. What
And
was
I
there?
would
Yeah, you
sorry,
go.
yeah, like I would also definitely be open to having other people write my songs. I didn't
Hmm.
even really know this at the time, but like basically no one writes their own songs. Like back then I just kind of thought, oh, the artist obviously writes their song.
Yeah.
Guess not. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure Beyonce's Single Ladies, there was like 7 or 8 different producers on that, or songwriters on that.
yeah, it's crazy. And then there's like some people, like I'm just thinking like there's this guy named Max Martin. He's a Swedish songwriter, and he's written like everything. Like he
Yeah.
wrote Blinding Lights by The Weeknd, but he also wrote like a whole bunch of like Taylor Swift songs and like Beyonce songs and the Backstreet Boys and um like yeah, Kelly Clarkson, like a whole bunch of these like really
That's a
yeah.
wide range.
Yeah, he's had like 30 number one hit singles or something like that.
That's pretty good. So how did you find that out? Was that just kind of being in the space? You just saw that come around, or where did that even pop up?
I actually saw that on a YouTube video and I just decided to look into it more. I was like, that's
Yeah.
really interesting. This one guy wrote 30 different number one hit songs for like a whole bunch of different artists. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Do you, it is, I mean, that means he's been in the game for quite a while.
Oh yeah. And it's
For,
interesting because he's Swedish, so English isn't even his first language. And on like he was on like a podcast or something, and he was
yeah,
talking about how when he would write songs, he didn't even care about the lyrics because he didn't really understand English. So he was saying like, oh, he'd hear like a melody and be like, cookie something or whatever, and it like wouldn't even make sense. But he was like, oh, that's a cool beat.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Um,
So yeah.
sorry, no, I'm just trying to think because this is a really cool thing just regarding that. It's a Britney Spears song. I'm just trying to think. Popular Britney Spears song?
Toxic.
I don't think so.
I think that's the
It's
only one that I can remember.
yeah, no, it's one that like when you hear the melody, it's something baby or something.
Oh,
But it's
Kiss Me Baby One More Time. Oh
yeah,
wait, is
hit me
that?
baby.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he came up with that literally. He was falling asleep and he's just thinking, and he's like, hit me baby one more time. He's like, oh, that could be a song. And he writes that down and like next day makes it like a hit song for Britney Spears.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So at that point, did you start writing more, or did that kind of change your path at all, or that was just something
At
that
that point, I
was there?
started writing a lot more. Like
Okay.
I heard about like these guys, and I found it cool because back then I also like wasn't really focused on the lyrics. I just
Hmm.
liked the sound of the music.
Yeah.
So it was cool to hear that he was also writing the lyrics based on the sound of the music. It's like the phonetics and stuff. So
Yeah. So how did that change how you were writing music or creating music? What did that look like as far as inspiration?
I found at that point I started to go a lot more into like my own head. Like I
Mm,
just kind of like imagine what I wanted it to sound like. And I'm like, okay, like I want this line to have like an A vowel to it, or like I want it to kind of go like ah ooh or whatever. And then fit the lyrics to that.
hmm.
And then it just kind of like at first it didn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm like, oh, these lyrics suck. But over time it got a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
takes practice. Everything takes practice.
yeah, no, absolutely. So as what was your mindset like, go just being able to just grind or do this for X amount of days in a row and hours on hours? Did you feel that you were having to force yourself to do it, or what was the mindset like?
I enjoyed music, and I remember telling myself like, okay, this is something that I would happily spend every day doing for the rest of my life,
Hmm.
and I feel like that's kind of important.
Yeah.
There's some days, obviously, where like I didn't want to do it,
Yeah.
but I would tell myself like, yeah, like this is as good as it gets. So like,
Hmm.
and another thing is when I first started doing this, it was like it was almost like it wasn't really gradual. It was like one day I decided, okay, I know I need to pursue something if I'm going to become successful at something. So
Yeah.
what is it going to be? I like music, so I'm going to make the conscious decision just to pursue music. And I told myself like that's just that's it. Like it's not I'm not going to sit around and wait for me to just become like good at something. It's like
Yeah.
I need to choose. And so I
Yeah.
just chose music. And
So
then things changed.
where in the world did that thought process come from? Is that something that you got from your parents? Is that something like where do you think that came from?
I'm trying. I think it was from a podcast called Impact Theory with Tom Bilyeu.
Okay, haven't heard that podcast, but heard of the podcast before.
Yeah, it's. I think it was around that time that I just started listening to that because I knew I wanted to be successful. I knew I wanted to be successful at something, like accomplish something. I just always wanted to do something like that. And so I started listening to that podcast because it's all about like success and he'd bring on other people. And eventually, I guess it was just like it was a mindset that I had to develop that I
Mhm.
could get good at anything.
Yeah.
And so once I understood that, okay, I can get good at anything, it's like, all right, what do I want to get good at? And
Right.
then it's like, okay, I choose music. And
Mhm.
it definitely was like I spent a long time developing that mindset just by listening to those podcasts. Like I remember like if I had to take the train, I'd put in my headphones and I'd listen to that podcast. If I was at the gym, I'd be listening to that podcast. And I listened to like several hundred episodes until like eventually it's just like my core belief.
Right.
And like now it's just kind of like it seems silly when people say that they can't do something or that they're not good at something. It's just like, well, you're not good at it because you didn't work hard at it enough. And they're
Yeah.
like, "No, like I'm not very good at it." And I'm like, yeah, it's because you didn't work hard at it enough.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
and I think that brings up a good point because most things in life somebody has done. So there's going to be a blueprint for it. Other than genetics, I'm not going to be 7 feet tall, but most things there's a blueprint for how to get it done.
mhm.
So as far as listening, you said you were listening to was it that single podcast or an episode, or was it continuously hearing people over time be just discussing, I have this mindset, I got good at this.
It
Is
was,
that kind
yeah, the third one. It was continuously hearing people that are like that are out there living my ideal life that are just talking about how they got there and the kind of mindset that they have. And it just seems like everyone has the same mindset.
yeah,
It seems like that is the key factor there. That it's like they all think the same.
right. And I think that brings up a good point with a lot of people that I have on the podcast is I try to ask them like, hey, like what's your mindset? Like how hard do you have to fight it? But a lot of people they've made a decision and that's just what they're going to do. So that's cool to see that that's just what it is. As far as how do you feel that you got out of the kind of the mindset of what our parents or our parents did? You go, you find a good job, you work 40 hours a week, you get a couple weeks off for vacation, and then you retire hopefully when you're 60 or 70. How were you able to kind of push that out of the mindset?
Well, again, one I feel like once I developed this mindset that I could do anything, I
Yeah.
started instead of looking at what I should do or what's more likely to do, I just it's weird. Like I look at people and I see what I use that to see what's possible. And
Hmm.
so like a lot of people like Charlie D'Amelio, for example, is the number one person on TikTok. Like she's really famous now. And like a lot of people would look at her and be like, oh, like, you know, maybe I should copy her dance content because dance seems to be working. And like I just looked at her and I was like, oh, someone's huge on TikTok and making millions of dollars. Okay,
Yeah.
then it's possible. I don't really care about the dance content. I don't really want to copy anyone. I just
Right.
want to see that, okay, this is possible. So I want to do it. And I see
Right.
like there's other people that, you know, like I dropped out of university to pursue TikTok full time when I had like 8 followers. Like I,
Yeah.
it was kind of just like blind faith, I guess, that I was going
Hmm.
to succeed. But I saw that it was possible. I saw that other people were successful without a university degree. So I knew that like that wasn't the key factor to my success. Like you can
For
have a
sure.
university degree and it can be beneficial to some things, just not to being famous on TikTok.
Right.
And so, yeah, and so I was like, okay, this is kind of I don't want to spend unnecessary time in unnecessary places. So I'm just gonna fulfill this like or like pursue it like full time.
Yeah.
And I see that it's possible. So I'm just gonna keep doing it.
So what did that look like as far as going to university? What were you going for, and like what? How long were you there for?
I went to university for natural science,
Okay.
but I took 3 classes. I was there for 1 semester. I took music, philosophy, and math.
Okay.
They weren't horrible classes, but then I was just kind of like, meh, I don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did your parents take that?
They didn't want me to do it at first.
Hmm.
Eventually, my mom, I remember she was the first one that was like, she just came home one day. It was really strange. I told my parents about it. I was like, I want to drop out of university to pursue. At that
Yeah.
time, I said music full time. It like it shifted like a month after I dropped out, but at that point, I was like, I want to pursue music full time. I want to drop out of university. I think I could do this. And the way I phrased it, it was like, I want to pursue my dream, and I think the best time to do it is now. And
Yeah.
I would agree with that because it's like, why would I spend 4 years doing something else, just to then pursue it. Like then I'm going to be in debt. Then I'm going to have more responsibilities. I'm going to have less time. It's going to be a lot harder. So I might as well just do it now.
Right.
And at first they're just kind of like, that's crazy. Like you need a university degree. Everyone needs a university degree.
Yeah.
And then one day my mom just came home and she was like almost crying. And she was like, I get it. You need to do it. You need to drop out and pursue your dream. And I was like, thank you.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, it was great.
That's super cool. So how did you find TikTok? Did somebody say something about it, or is just kind of around the space?
Well, before that, I'd been trying to grow on Instagram as a musician. For the entire year, I gained like 1,500 followers, which some would say is not bad, but I mean, 1,500 followers a year is not enough to make a living.
Right.
And so one day, like like a week or so, a couple weeks before I dropped out, my sister comes and shows me her TikTok. And
Yeah.
I've heard of TikTok, but I've always just thought like, it's just like a silly app for kids.
Yeah.
And comes and shows it. She's like, hey, I have 12,000 followers. I was like, what? I'm like, how? And she's like, yeah, I don't know. I just made a couple of posts like last month or whatever, and just grew a lot. And like one of them went viral. I was like, I've been spending a year of my life trying to grow on Instagram. I've had like no success, and you just accidentally like tenfold my success in like a month. So I was like, okay, TikTok is where I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just kind of figured out the algorithm and how to blow up on there.
For sure. So what was your first, did you want to start with music on TikTok, or what did you kind of first start with on TikTok?
Yeah, it's funny because I did do only music on TikTok.
Okay.
And back then, so I started going to the gym a few months before. And it was something that I knew I just wanted to get better at naturally because
Yeah.
I was overweight and I was also just, weaker than I wanted to. I wanted to get a six pack and get strong. And so I was going to the gym every single day, and it was taking like, 3 hours a day.
Mhm.
But then the other like 9 hours I was putting towards music. And
Yeah.
I remember like I even like slept less during that time. I remember spending like sometimes like 10, 12 hours a day working on music. And like
Wow.
I wouldn't take days off. Like I was just like full on grind. And then I remember I wanted to try this challenge. So I'm making music all up until this point, and it's like
Mhm.
been like a month and a half so far. And then I wanted to try this challenge that I saw, like, Wim Hof.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he climbed a mountain shirtless, and I was
Yep.
like, I want to climb a mountain shirtless. And I was like, and I might as well just make a TikTok video about it, I guess.
Yeah.
And so I did it with my friend, and I filmed it, and I posted it. It got 300 views. I was like, dude, this was the hardest thing I've ever done. Like, I need to get more views than 300. Like, come on. And so I just added some text to it.
Okay.
And it was like, I believe that we could do more than we think, and I created like a little narrative around it to make it more kind of, I guess, easily to watch.
Right.
But yeah, then it got 15,000 views. And
Hey, that's not bad.
like nothing crazy, but at that point, that was like 10 times the views that I've ever gotten on a video. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
so it's possible. I'm not shadow banned. Like, it is possible for me to get views. TikTok doesn't hate me, it doesn't discriminate against me. I could do this. And then my next video that I did a couple weeks later, it was like, I just decided to do a plank. And it was like, it took me 5 minutes to film. Like, I literally just did a plank, filmed it. I wanted to see how long I could last.
Yeah.
I was like 4 minutes, 5 minutes in or something. My form was horrible. And then my phone ran out of storage. And I was like, bro. And so I was like, I'm just going to post it anyways. And so I did. And I got 3 million views.
That's awesome.
And at that point, I was just like, screw music.
It has evolved. We have figured out something.
Yeah.
So as far as the gym goes, what did that look like for you? Did you just, your buddy that was already going to the gym, or you're like, hey, like, can I join you? Or what was your introduction to the gym like?
It actually, none of us were going to the gym. So I go to the gym with my good friend. His name's Paul, and he used to be kind of more into fitness. Like he was taking like sports PE or something in school. He was always like a lot stronger than me. He still is a lot stronger than me.
Yeah.
He didn't go to the gym for a little while, and then he's like, oh, I kind of want to get back into it, but I don't have the motivation. And I'm like, bro, I need to go to the gym. we're gonna go together. And back then we had another friend of mine,
Mhm.
and so the three of us, we would go together and
Awesome.
keep each other accountable every day. So it was always like, all right, we had to go, and we did this for a few months. The other friend moved like just out of town, just
Yeah.
far where he can't really come to the gym, so he
Yeah.
was at home now. But yeah, Paul and I, we still go together every day, and like it's been we've missed like less days than I could count on my hand in like the past year. So
Wow, that's impressive.
yeah, we go pretty much every day. It's like it's very religious.
So how does the conversation go when you guys are both kind of not wanting to go to the gym, or that never really happens and one person is always there to kind of get you going?
Kind of. Sometimes we'll take like in the couple of times, usually the days that we miss is for like a holiday or something. Like
Mhm.
Christmas, we didn't go because it was closed. We both would have wanted to go on Christmas,
Yeah.
but yeah, no. Normally, it's just kind of like, oh, I don't want to go to. It's not about do we want to go to the gym. It's when do you want to go to the gym. So it's kind
Okay.
of like when do you want to go to the gym, and it's like, oh, like I'm busy, or like can we go later, or can we go early, or whatever. But like
Yeah.
if we still go, sometimes it's kind of like, dude, like the last workout killed me. Like I didn't go a couple days ago, and he was busy that day, like for like the entire day. And then I
Mhm.
also did about 500 pull-ups the day before and could barely like move. And so I was like, I'm down just to take a rest day.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
and I think a lot of people are confused because the questions that they're asking themselves are, oh, should I or should I not go to the gym? When the questions you're asking yourself is what time I'm going to the gym. There's not really don't really have that option.
yeah.
So once again, that mindset that you had was this, well, we're just going to the gym. What type of workouts were you guys doing as far as when you were getting started?
It was all just kind of weightlifting. We just do 10 reps, 3 sets of everything.
Yeah.
So, we bench. How much can we do for consistently for 10 reps, 3 sets? And then we just kind of get our number off there and just try and improve that way.
Hmm.
I didn't know too much about it, but we just tried to keep it simple. We tried to
Yeah.
like research form to make sure that we weren't like hurting ourselves. But other than that, just went to the gym, lifted our weights, and went home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think a lot of people underestimate just doing work because obviously there's a quote unquote perfect program out there, but doing something is going to outbeat anybody that's just not doing anything at all.
Yeah, 100%.
And from your transformation in your other videos, it seemed to work pretty well. So what were you eating at that time? Were you tracking? Were you purposely doing something different, or what did your nutrition look like at that point?
I was just tracking calories at that point. I wasn't
Okay,
gonna like overwhelm myself with a lot of like nutrition because
absolutely.
I found that really difficult. I was like, whatever. If I want to eat a bag of chips, then I guess that's the only thing I eat the day, as
Yeah.
long as it's under a certain number of calories. And yeah, and normally like if I did that, like I just feel like crap. Like if I
Yeah.
just ate junk food, then it's like, oh god, I can't do that. Like then now I
Yeah.
just don't have energy and whatever. And so yeah,
For
but
sure. So,
it's a good program just to track calories to begin with.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, how many calories were you trying to hit those first couple of months?
I think I started off with something like way too small. Like I think I went on like my fitness pal or something and typed in like the maximum it would go, and I think they was like suggesting that I eat like 1,200 calories a
Oh
day or
no.
something. Yeah,
All those TikTok
eventually,
videos are right.
yeah, I learned better. But yeah, I would always just like way undercut myself, and then I would just like because I feel like I have a reasonably strong mindset. Like when I want to stick to something, I'll stick to it. So I
Right.
would just be like dead and be like, I can't eat more, and I have to keep going to the gym. And I guess
Right.
I would for some time until, I got on like a bulk and then just way overate.
Hmm. So, what do you feel like your maintenance level is? How many calories do you think to kind of stay around the same weight for you?
I feel like that would be probably about 2,200, 2,500
Yeah.
calories.
Hmm.
Yeah,
For sure.
sometimes more or less depending on how much I work out.
Yeah, and you're fairly active. So a lot of people when they see like 2,000 calories, that may be high because they're not doing much in a day.
Hmm.
So your plank video gets 3 million. What does stuff look like after that? What's kind of your move from there?
Well, it's interesting because after the plank video, I really started to dissect the content.
Hmm.
Before, I was just kind of throwing stuff at a wall. I was just making what I was interested in and just seeing what worked better than others and what didn't. And I mean, obviously, I still was for months after that, just not as much. At that point, I made sure that like I tried to make sure at least that every single video I'd learned something from. So like I followed that up with I think just me doing a plank but with better form,
Hmm.
and it got like 80,000 views or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, most of the views just came from the people from the first video,
Yeah.
and then I made another video like half a week later where I what did I do? Oh, I held my breath, and I think it was like 3 minutes or something. I just went in a bathtub.
Yeah.
That video is now taken down because apparently it violates community guidelines. I guess TikTok thought I was drowning myself, but yeah. So I held my breath, and that got like 500,000 views, and from there the views kind of dropped, and I was just making a lot of random stuff. I remember at one point I was making like 10 videos a day or something.
Wow.
Um, like just trying to figure out what's working, what isn't, how I could do this in an efficient way, or just like key things that I'm trying to look for. Like I would have ideas, and everything that I do for my videos is very theoretical. I
Okay.
think things through and I think about why it worked. So like if I'm going to like I said earlier, I realized very early on that text is important, but
Yes.
why is text important? And so then I tried to like track everything out, and it's like text is important because it's like it's an element that you could grab your attention on, that you could focus your attention on. And
Yeah.
so I did things down into like their most basic elements. Like there's visual and there's audio and there's text. And so it's like, okay, theoretically it makes sense for me to include all of those in some way or another because I want to make sure that there's enough that they could focus their attention on. If I just have
Right.
visual and no sound and no text, it's boring. If I have visual and sound, which I saw a lot of people on TikTok, but no text,
Yeah.
the text could add an extra thing. It could just make it more effective.
Right.
So I
So,
started analyzing that.
so are you editing all on your phone? Are you using your computer? What's your go-to at those
Uh, I have
younger times?
I have a Premiere on my computer, and for the more complicated video, I'd make that. But yeah, recently, I think a couple months ago, TikTok or ByteDance, the corporation that owns TikTok, they also made an app. It's called CapCut,
Hmm.
and it's really good. I was surprised by how good it is. I edit everything on there pretty much now.
Really?
Sometimes I'll go to Premiere to add like timers or something, but
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much just edit everything on my phone, including my YouTube videos.
Very cool. Nice.
Yeah, I was
So,
surprised by how well it works.
yeah, I think the first video I saw of yours that kept on popping up was you doing, was it a hundred, what were the sit-ups? Was it
Oh,
50,000 sit-ups?
yeah, 50,000 sit-ups because that's when I
Yeah.
hit 50K.
So how long did it take from the plank and then for you to get to the 50K followers?
Quite a while, I think a couple months.
Okay.
So the plank video got me about 7,000 followers. So that was February 2nd. I don't have dates for any of the other ones. I
No,
just know
that's
that
fine.
that one was. So beginning of February, I had about 7,000 followers, which was funny because like the day before I had like 100.
Yeah.
But so from there, I think it took me to like April,
Mhm.
February, yeah, April to gain about 50K. And it was like I was growing really slow. Occasionally I'd have a video that would do relatively well.
Yeah.
And like I remember, yeah, like one thing there, I saw this really cool video and I wanted to like, it was called The Economic Machine by Ray Dalio, just talking about
Okay.
economics. Found it very valuable. And I was like, oh, this would be a cool thing to share. How do I share this in a way that's kind of interesting? So I decided, I went up to both my sisters. I was like, hey, I'll give you $5 if you watch this YouTube video. And I don't know, video did well, got like 1 million views. So like occasionally I'd get something like that,
Mhm.
grow me a few followers, but then all of my other videos would flop, but I'd try and learn something from it. And then eventually I hit 50,000 followers and my dad was like, you got to do something big for it. And I was like, I don't really want to, but what do you suggest? And he was like, I've never seen you do sit-ups for a challenge. You should do 50,000 sit-ups. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds like a lot, but maybe I don't know, that'll take a couple days. First day I did 800 sit-ups. I was like, oh my God, this is going to take forever.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah.
for people that like when I started watching that, so the at the CrossFit gym that I used to work at, we would use ab mats or whatever it was, and when they would do their sit-ups. So it's just something that kind of goes under your back, that so when you arch, you have support, so you don't have a big arch under your back. But every time they would sit up, they would rub. So then people would call it like an ab mat rash. And like when you go take a shower, then you're like, uh-oh, like I don't have a lot of skin back there anymore. So this kind of hurts. And
Yeah.
that's all I could think of when you started doing that challenge. I'm like, oh my God, that's gonna be uncomfortable.
So yes, it was actually very uncomfortable. After literally the second day, because it like my tailbone area,
Yep.
yeah, and so it like literally it was bleeding. Like I remember I didn't really know what to do at the beginning. Quite frankly, I was like, I started this challenge, I need to finish it. But like after like 1,500 sit-ups, my tailbone was bleeding, and I was like, so I took some toilet paper and I just would like kind of cram it back there and see if that
Yeah.
maybe that helped. Didn't help. It was just another hard thing on my tailbone. I'd take the toilet paper off, it's all covered in blood. I'm like, God. So and then eventually I just decided, I took like those like airplane neck pillows. I took 2 of them. I
Yeah.
sit them, there's like a hole. And then so I kind of would just like do it off there. And then I'd have some pillows in my back for like support. I wasn't able to go down completely flat, but it was kind of
Yeah.
like it was enough to be considered a sit up. And I just kind of kept doing it like that because it was really painful. And then
Yes.
working on like gradually like progressing, building up and up. Like the first day I did 800, but I remember like close to the end, like one day I just went for like almost like 8 hours straight and I did like 10,000 or something.
8 hours.
Yeah.
That's a long time. So, okay. So this is the myth. This is the myth busting right here. Everyone's always saying, "Hey, you just got to do ab workouts to get a 6-pack." I feel like you did enough abs to get like at least a 14-pack. Did you have it after the 50,000?
I had something, but that's only because I don't know. During this challenge, I was also doing another challenge called 75 hard, which was
Perfect.
that yeah, you had, what was that again? You had
It's
to,
you work out twice, you drink a gallon of water, you have to read a
yeah,
book, and yeah, no, I know
yeah,
that challenge quite well.
yeah. I was doing that, and but for some reason I made my diet, again, me with setting things way too low for myself. I made my diet 1,500 calories a day because I wanted to lose weight. I admittedly, you could say I lost the challenge, but I raised the calorie count a little bit into it to like 2,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, for part of the sit up thing, I was only eating 1,500 calories a day.
My Lord, and I can't even like I want to just go back and look at your old challenges and give them a try, but I feel like that would just not go well.
Honestly, I'm scared to go back and give my own challenges a try.
So what? So you're bleeding. It is not comfortable. At what point? How many did you ever give yourself an out in doing that challenge, or it was just
No,
I'm getting it done?
yeah, it's just a matter of how long it takes. And I'm happy I set it up that way because a couple of like my recent ideas that I had, or like I'll see someone said like do like 5 hours straight of jumping jacks. And like something like that is something scary to attempt almost, because the thing about the sit-ups was my out was that it would just take longer.
Yeah.
But for the like 5 hours of jumping jacks, like if like something happens 3 hours in, it's like
Right.
I can't go for 2 hours like that. Then it like, but if it was like do 20,000 jumping jacks, that'd be
Yeah.
something I'd attempt. Yeah, I'd do that today.
For sure.
Maybe I'll do that today.
Just getting after it. So what was some of the other fun challenges before you had the sit-ups? What kind of stuff were you getting into then?
It was mainly just basic stuff like planks and wall sits. I remember just trying to get really good at plank. A lot of my earlier videos were like me trying to get better at plank. It was
Hmm.
also just because my first video just did so well whenever I did a plank.
Yeah.
I was just figure out creative ways to do it. I remember I
Hmm.
did like a plank video once. It's just like a time lapse, and my sister was just like sitting on my back, like
Yeah.
she was making a drink or something, making like lemonade. Really
Hmm.
random, but yeah, just a bunch of
So
planks.
for sure. So you're getting a lot of followers. You get up to 50,000. Was there any money coming in at that point, or you just knew that, hey, I need to build a big following?
So I had one brand deal, I think around that time, maybe a little bit before that time.
Mhm.
It was like $45 or something, really low.
There we
But yeah,
go.
I was really excited and I showed my parents. I was like, see, you can make money. Look at this. It's possible. I just need to
Yeah,
get a bigger following. And so, yeah, but I would get a couple companies reach out to me. I obviously still get like a lot of companies that reach out to me that I'm just going to turn down. Either
yeah.
they just don't pay enough or I don't believe in the company. So,
Yeah. Well, and I think that's key. Like you're building a brand. They're
mhm,
paying you for your following and all the work you've done since February, or well, pretty much your whole life. And if it's not something that you're going to be true to yourself, like that's probably a good move not to get on board with that.
mhm,
So I think I watched the uh, you said you were going to do 50,000, and then I think you had like update videos saying like, oh, I'm bleeding, and but I'm only at this amount, and I'm going to keep going.
yeah,
And I just keep seeing this. I keep seeing this, and your followers were just blowing up at that
yeah.
point. And then you hit 100,000, and I'm like, all right, well, what has he got going on now? And what the when you announced the challenge, I'm like, all right, I got to find this kid. There's because you hit 100,000 and you said you're gonna run 100 kilometers, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and so I like I said before in the text, I'm like, hey man, like let's talk real quick. I have some insight as far as it goes, like ultra marathons. I have friends that have done it before. I've helped people
Yeah.
as far as endurance and whatnot. Um, because what was your running experience before you decided to do that?
It was horrible. I don't even think I'd ever run a marathon before that. I don't even know if I'd run half a marathon before that. I don't know why I decided to do that.
where did so like when I see 100,000, I'm like, oh, maybe it'll be like, I'm trying to think of what maybe like jump ropes or something like that, or maybe like push-ups, and it'll take like maybe a month or something like that. How did you think 100 kilometers is going to be the move?
I thought it'd be faster because the push-ups or the sit-ups thing were taking like it was taking like 2 weeks,
Yeah,
and people get tired. People, that's the thing about TikTok. There's a lot of really fun challenges that I'd like to try, but I know they take like a week or something, and people are
right.
expecting content like every day, and it's like I
Yes.
can't keep up with this. So I figured like for like that's why a lot of my recent challenges have been like smaller
Right.
because it's something that I can do in a day or two, and
For
uh,
sure.
and so that's kind of something that I figured it would still take me a while. And I ended up doing like 200 kilometers because I hit 200K by the end of that. But it was just like 50 kilometers for um, like a day, four
Yeah.
times. And
Yeah.
I think it took like 7 or 8 days.
Yeah.
So
For
like just over.
sure. Yeah, and we talked about a lot of stuff that day, and another one of the things that we talked about was a nut allergy,
Yeah.
and that was that. So I remember we're FaceTiming. I'm outside my wife's parents' house, and you're like, oh yeah, and like, well, because we talked. I think we talked for well over an hour.
Yeah.
And towards the end of it, you're like, oh yeah, like there's one other thing that I want to try out. And like you were telling me about all these challenges, like I was on board, like, hey, like we can get this done. Let me give you a little tip here and there. And then you're like, yeah, I got a nut allergy that I'm deathly allergic to, and I want to work on that.
Yeah. I'm happy with that challenge. It's going really well. Like I'm not completely cured, but I'm at a level where I'm almost not worried about nuts. Like I'm not
Oh
worried about cross contamination anymore. Like even
yeah,
if I had a little bit of a nut, like I don't even think I'd die if I ate a whole nut at this point. I think I just have a pretty severe reaction.
yeah. When you brought that to me, I was like, I know that people can work through these types of things, but I am not going to be I am not going to be a part of this. But
Yeah.
like people do that with like venom and stuff like that. If like they'll take small injections, so if they do get bit by like a snake wrangler, he'll kind of build his tolerance up. And so, how did you start down that path, and why was that something that even popped up as an opportunity for you to work on?
Mainly just because it was something that I struggled with and I don't like that. I don't know. It's kind of irrational, but at the same time, I like to see what's possible. but I
Yeah.
also just don't like being held back in any way.
That's very on brand for you.
Mental,
That's
physical. So I was like, all right, well, let's see if I can overcome this. It's got a little bit of experiment. I had faith, obviously. I figured I could do it, but I didn't start with anything dangerous.
right.
Like, I started rubbing it on my skin, which I knew wasn't going to kill me,
Yeah.
and it gave me like really severe
Oh,
rashes.
yeah.
I,
If
like,
anybody hasn't seen the videos, like it's not like, oh, I have a little peanut allergy. Like it's legit.
yeah,
Like it's not like, oh, I overcame this. Like it's a big deal.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing. Like, and then I'm getting like a lot of comments of people saying like, oh, like it must not be that bad if you could eat it now. And it's like, no, like it was so bad that like if I touched my skin, it would like bubble up. It
So
was, yeah.
how did you find that out at like a young age? Was it just a doctor told you, or what?
Yeah,
How did that come upon?
doctor told me. I was just always something that I've lived with. In fact, I've always been like, it's weird. I've had so many like health conditions because I also have asthma, but I'm
Hmm.
also like I've been allergic to so many other things. I remember in middle school, I came back to school and I got tested for more allergies because I remember telling my parents like, "Hey, I'm allergic to pineapple." They're like, "You're not allergic to pineapple." I'm like, "No, no, no, I swear. Like whenever I eat pineapple, like it feels like so bad. Like and kiwi too, and watermelon." And they're like, okay, you love watermelon, so maybe you're right. And I'm like, yeah, so take me to an allergist. So I go to an allergist, and he gets the like everything ready to be like tested. He makes like a whole bunch of marks on my arm,
Yep.
and he gets like for a whole bunch of different things. You get like for all of the fruits and vegetables that I was talking about, I get tested for that. He also tests me for like things like horses and grass and pollen and
Yeah.
trees, and I tested like positive for everything. I'm like, he's
Mhm.
like, dude, like you're allergic to everything. You got to stay away from these things. And I'm like, or I could just keep eating them. Yeah. For a while though, I did like identify myself as that kid that was just like so almost like disabled, like, oh, I have so many allergies, I have asthma, I can't run, I can't do anything, I have so many health conditions.
Mhm.
Pity
So
me.
what was your reaction? Because I very similar. I don't know why I'm playing with my Whoop charger. It's just something that's there. Maybe a sponsor at some point. Just shout out to Whoop. But yeah, growing up, I was allergic to my foods was wheat, soy, and corn. So that eliminated all pop except for not Fanta. Now I'm trying Fresca. I could have Fresca. That was my saving grace. But then like I was allergic to grass, cats, dogs, and stuff like that. But my reaction was my nose would just be dripping and dripping. So like that didn't help my asthma as well. And it was funny. We took yoga class as a family at the YMCA, and the instructor would come around and say, "Oh, okay, just like breathe through your nose." And my mom was like, "He can't breathe through his nose. Like it's permanently clogged." But yeah, that was definitely something I was like, like what do I do? So how did the asthma show up in your life, or what did that kind of do to you?
Um, in school, a lot, like anything active would always get to me.
Hmm.
Sometimes I try and push through because, like, at Young Canadians, if I dance too much and I'd have like asthma, I just kind of slow down. I feel like in the later years, I was a lot like more like I'm just gonna push through this rather than like having it like lead my life. But
Hmm.
when I was young, like elementary school, early middle school for sure, it was like it was pretty bad too. And the Terry Fox run, everyone else would run, and I'd like slowly walk across. Everyone's doing like 10 laps. I'm like struggling to complete one.
Hmm.
And we had this thing
So
in.
what's the Terry Fox run? Is that a fundraiser? Is that
Oh
a
yeah, sorry, no, I forgot. Not everyone's Canadian. Um, oh, Terry Fox. Yeah, it's a fundraiser for I believe some sort of cancer. Terry
Okay.
Fox is he's a Canadian legend, I guess. He
Okay.
decided to run all the way across Canada because really cool story actually. So he had cancer. He had
Yeah.
cancer in I believe his bone or something in his leg.
That's
And
not a good type of cancer.
it's not a good kind of cancer. And so what happened? What the doctor was like, we got to cut your leg off. And so they cut his leg off. So they amputated his leg, and he got a prosthetic. And of course, back then, it's like a long time ago. It wasn't like a good prosthetic. It was
Yeah.
like basically. And he was like, "Damn, if only I could do something to raise money for other people that have this condition. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna run all the way across Canada with this prosthetic, running every single day, and I'll raise money for charity." And he did, and he raised like something like $50 million or something, maybe more, maybe like 200 million. Like, he raised a ton of money, and he did this every day until eventually the cancer like went up to like his liver, and he like died. He didn't complete the run, I don't think, but he
Wow.
still did like a really like insane, like he was just every day he's up there running like with his prosthetic. I can't imagine
Yeah.
how that would be all the way across Canada, or at least like a good way.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to get in one lap.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't get in one lap. Like it wasn't even a kilometer.
Yeah.
And I just remember feeling like, oh, like everyone else is so athletic, and I'm just like, I guess I'm just not meant to be athletic, you know? I just,
Yeah.
no, there's nothing I could do to help this. I have asthma, and it'd just be like, you know, the classic excuse like back then. It's easier to make excuses than to make changes.
Oh
So
yeah.
then everything was just like, yeah, well, I have asthma, I can't do it, you know? Like
Mhm.
there was this run in my school. It was the 12-minute run. That's what it was called. You run for 12 minutes. That's the whole goal. I had to sit out of that run, or I didn't have to, but I chose to sit out of that run because I had a doctor's note saying I had asthma. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So during those times when you are being told you have asthma, when you're being told you have allergies, are they just saying like, "Hey, things can improve, or you can do this," or they're just, "This is just what it is."
Not really, but I used to be allergic to dogs and cats.
Mhm.
And my mom was like, we're getting a dog and a cat. And I think that was
Thanks,
like,
mom.
yeah, no, I like it is thanks, mom, because I'm no longer allergic to dogs and cats. And
Yeah.
if I could think of one time, that is probably it. That made me think, oh shoot, maybe you can get over this.
Mhm.
Other than that, I don't think anyone was saying like you could get over your asthma. It was more so just like make sure you have your inhaler on you.
Mhm.
And then like I haven't used my inhaler in like 2 years or something.
Yeah.
Like I've just, you know, even if I, and I do get asthma sometimes, like especially if I run really fast, or if I push myself like out of my
Yeah.
comfort zone, you know, like I remember I did a challenge a while ago for TikTok where I was just racing my sisters, and there was like this 1 kilometer run. I think I did it. I don't know. It was like 3 something minutes. I went
Mhm.
pretty fast. A kilometer is obviously a lot shorter than a mile, but I did it relatively quick. Like I just absolutely sprinted the entire time, and had like a huge asthma almost attack from it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm like, of course, wheezing and coughing and whatever. Everyone's like, dude, like, you okay? You should use your inhaler. I'm like, no, I'm just going to lie down on the couch and wait for it to pass. And so I
Yeah.
did.
For sure. And I think that brings up a good point. Like it's practicing, it's getting better. Like it's you've improved on that for sure. I think we talked about the nasal breathing and stuff probably a couple times ago, but I use as many times as possible to kind of bring that up because I'm thinking 3 to 5 years, if I could invest in something that was athletic or whatever it is, I think nasal breathing is going to be where it's at in a couple of years. But yeah, back to that 100 kilometers. So you start off. What was your preparation like as far as getting into that run went?
Um, I got some compression socks and some new shoes. And I
Oh, you
just,
got new shoes.
yeah, yeah. And I just kind of started running. It was, yeah, I remember talking to you about that, and I remember getting like some gummies and some Gerolsteiner. That's really good.
Yeah.
Like the sparkling water. Um, the thing is, I threw it into a backpack, and I thought that'd be a good idea just to carry around like half a gallon of water with me. So that's what I did, I guess, because I would just run like really far out and then just basically run home.
Mhm.
And so I didn't really have anyone to like follow me around.
Yeah.
That's that's one of the biggest things about, you know, a lot of people will watch the videos and say that it's fake. That's kind of the reason why it seems fake sometimes, is because when I do these long challenges, I don't have someone just there with me to film me the whole time, and like
Yeah.
I have to like, you know, like do the clips beforehand or afterhand or something, or like,
Right.
yeah. And so, but anyway, so I was just me with my backpack, and we're running out, and I'm just kind of by myself listening to music, listening to my podcast. And the thing is, when I'm doing that, I can't really stop. I'm like, you know, 10, 25 kilometers from home.
Right.
I just feel like, okay, I'm going to bed. Like, I gotta go home.
Yeah.
So yeah, that honestly kind of helped me, I guess. The hardest
Mhm.
part was just that, I do that, I run 50 kilometers and then I'm exhausted. And then the next day or the next day or two, I have to get up and do it again. And I'm just like, well, I know that it's going to hurt just as bad, if not worse, and take longer. And so I don't want to do it again, but I had to
Yeah.
do it.
So how long did it take you each day to kind of do the 50 kilometers?
On average, probably like 10 hours.
Okay.
It
So
was,
for,
yeah.
yeah,
The first day, I think I did it pretty fast. I was more focused on just getting home as fast as possible. Versus, I did another like for a TikTok video recently. I just said run for 10 hours, and when I did that, I wasn't really concerned about distance. It was more
right.
just about going for the length.
Yeah.
And yeah, quite frankly, I think if I were to redo that challenge, if people cared more about the distance than the time, then
Yeah.
I probably do something for the distance. And I try and run like 60 or 70 kilometers, maybe push for 100. But yeah, people just seem to care about the time for some reason, and so I don't know. That's
Give
what
the
people.
people what they want.
Yeah. So yeah, what was I saying?
So what was sore from the runs? Like where did you feel like that you're just killed it?
It's actually funny because I was kind of like switching it up. It's like if I walked, I would feel it a lot more in my feet, and
Mhm.
if I ran, I'd feel it a lot more in my hip flexors and knees. And
Okay.
if like the faster I ran, the more I'd feel it in like my hip flexors, and the slower I ran, the more I'd feel it in like my feet. So
Yeah.
sometimes if my feet hurt too much, I'd run just like a little bit faster until my hip flexors hurt too much, and then I'd slow down a little bit. I don't know if that was the ideal way to do it, but I just kind
You
of
did it.
switched the way where I felt the pain.
Yeah. So how much do you think you were eating in those couple of days?
Mm, Probably not a whole lot.
Hmm.
Maybe I remember I'd eat a relatively big breakfast before I'd go out, and I would have like gummies and stuff to keep me company. I guess I did probably get about 2,000 calories a day.
Hmm.
But I also found that, as you're running, like unless the gummies would help me kind of crave calories more, but
Yeah.
other than like if I didn't have them on me or if I like finished the pack or something, then it's just kind of like I could go a few hours and just like not really feel hungry because my body's not worried about being hungry. It's more worried about the run.
Yeah. It was focused on other things.
Yeah.
So you get the 100,000 done. You had the 100,000 followers. What's kind of the next move? Were you getting more sponsorships at that time? What's kind of going on in your head as far as like, hey, like this thing's taken off. Like you spent 2 to 3 years doing music, and now after 5 6 months, like TikTok is
Yeah.
kind
I
of
was
where
like
it's at for you.
200K or something at that point. It slowly increased to like 250K.
Yeah.
I was making a few other challenges, but at that point I was like exhausted doing the 50,000 sit-ups and the run. I didn't want to do another huge challenge.
Yeah.
I was trying to think like, oh, maybe if I hit 300K, then I'll do another challenge. But like I wasn't hitting 300K as fast as I thought I would. Like
Yeah.
I went up to like 250K, and then I was just kind of like, my videos weren't as good. They were all just kind of like really basic stuff.
Hmm.
Just I don't remember what it exactly was at the time. Probably just me doing more planks and wall sits or something,
Yeah.
thinking that that would be good enough content to keep the momentum going. Obviously, it wasn't. Um, and then I remember at this point, it was kind of around the beginning of August where I started working for, like sometimes in my free time, I'd help my friend who has like a ring company, a jewelry company. I'd
Okay.
help him make some videos for it because I was like, bro, TikTok is really good. Like you can get on TikTok and at first, like he made a TikTok video and he was trying to promote his rings and stuff, got like 300 views. I'm like, bro, that's not how you do it. Let me help you make a couple of videos.
Yeah.
So I helped him make a couple of videos and they started doing really well. And like he actually grew like a lot faster than I was growing. And
Hmm.
even at like when I hit 50K, I was above him, but like he passed me at like 25 or 30K before I passed him to go up to like 50K.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was at like 250K, and he was at like something around 100 at this time. And this was at the start of August. And then I was like, here, I'll help you make some videos and stuff. And like, I'll just get a little like a percentage of what you make
Yeah.
and like the sales, because I think TikTok could drive a lot of sales. And so I would just do that in my free time because I really like making videos as well. And that's the thing about like when I do it, I can't film for myself. You know, like
Right.
I have a vision, but then I have to instruct people, okay, hold the camera this way, walk around and film like this, and make sure
Yeah.
you get this shot, this shot, this shot. And it's like, yeah, so I could actually just kind of make the video how I wanted when I was working with him.
Hmm.
It was a lot easier and a lot more efficient. And so I do one every day or every couple of days for him. And then there was this one series where he was dating his girlfriend and he wanted to make an engagement ring.
I saw that one.
Yeah, yeah. And so I made that video for him and it blew up and got 45 million views.
That's quite a bit.
It was quite a bit. And then so we followed up with
I'm gonna do some math while you're telling the story.
sounds good. So I followed up with 2 more videos, and you know, each of those got 20 million views. And then from there, when I was working for him, like at that point, like all of the videos were getting at least 1 million views. And I'm looking at my account because at that point he went from 100,000 followers to about 1.3 million followers in about a week.
Woo!
And so yeah, and then I made a few more videos for him, but then eventually he was like he was getting so many orders that he couldn't keep up with it essentially. And then so he was like, bro, can you also like work on the website and can you also do this and can you also do this? And eventually he's like, dude, I'm putting in 18 hours a day. If you like I'm giving because he was giving me 30%. He's like, bro, you should do like at least 30% of the work. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of well, that's not really how it works, man. I was just hired to make videos. And then he was like, bro, like I'm literally working so much. And he's like, you spend like a lot, like most of your time going to the gym and stuff, and that's taking
Yeah.
time out of the business. And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest, I care more about the gym than the business. So I'll go work on my own stuff. And then his videos kind of, you know, he hasn't posted a lot of videos since then. He's posted a couple. Some of them have done well, some of them have
Yeah.
kind of flopped. But yeah, he's learned a little bit. His account is still decent, but
Yeah.
he's now at about 1.7 million followers.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of he's just kind of trickled in more growth.
Mhm.
But yeah, so he was at the start of September. I think he managed to get up to like 1.5 million followers, and I was at 250K.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling really demoralized because I was like, darn, I thought 250K was really good, but this man just grew like tenfold overnight.
Yeah.
And but it's good because I now see that that's possible.
Right.
Like the power that a 45 million view video could do is crazy.
Mhm.
And so obviously it's been my goal since then to make another like 45, 50 million view video.
Yeah.
I got to figure out how, but I've definitely seen some growth. And so
Mhm.
even while working for him, I'm trying to like brainstorm
Yeah.
stuff with my own videos. Like I'm trying to map everything out. And by this point, I'd gathered a lot of concepts and it was just a matter of putting them together. I'd done like a ton of experimentation before. And I felt like at the start of September, it was like, all right, I'm going to start actually implementing this.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been growing like over 300 to 400,000 every month.
That's fantastic. Wow, that's impressive. And yeah, as far as like the 30% of the work and the things of that nature, I feel that it depends on what the gig is. Most like CEOs or financial advisors, like they put in some of the work, but it more matters what type of work you're putting in
Yeah.
because I think you were able to bring him that light and that work for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that video would be worth. I think if you guys were in the States, it'd be like $1,300 for 45 million views or something like that. So that's not bad.
Yep.
So as far as the challenges and stuff goes, what do you feel like was able to kind of turn up the volume as far as followers and stuff like that goes?
I felt it was honestly a little bit less about the challenges and more about the way that I made my video.
Okay.
So during that kind of time that I had off, I was analyzing just a lot of stuff and trying to just put together a little bit of a formula. As you notice, like all of my videos, they kind of look the same, they feel the same,
Yeah.
they have a different topic to them. So that's like it's pretty well mapped out. There's a lot of things that I have that
Yeah.
I planned out for each of those videos. Like I probably I don't know, should I go into it a little bit?
If you want to, if you're sharing secrets, then we don't have to do that. But if you want to, you can.
I could share some secrets. It's yeah, like I said, like a lot of the things that I do is very kind of like psychological, I guess, very theoretical. Like I'm trying to figure out like what how this like would work and why it works and stuff. So like for example, like I'll start off like looking at that question that I received from like a commenter. And this is great because this is like one of like 3 forms of content which work really well, especially on TikTok, but just typically across like all platforms, which is Q&A,
Mhm.
which is great for establishing credibility, and also just would keep the the viewer interested. Um, Myth busting. So like myth busting. So like when you kind of present something that they might want to like that you'll challenge, bring forward something that they may not know. Like when I did my 24-hour in darkness challenge, like the whole thing is like, have you ever wondered what it'd be like to live in darkness for 24 hours?
That was
Darkness and isolation.
impressive. That was impressive, by the way.
Thank you. No, I was just feeling bored that day, and I didn't want to
So,
do a fitness challenge.
so how did you even approach that? Because a lot of people, um, like a day, I would say is like, hey, that's like a waste of time. But I feel like not going through that. Was there anything that was like you learned from it, or was just, hey, yeah, this is going to be something I need to do?
Kind of, this is just something I'm going to need to do. I was left with my own thoughts, and that's it. I couldn't look at my phone. I couldn't look at anything else. So I
Yeah.
just basically thinking the whole time. So, I had some good thoughts. It
Hmm.
was good. But other than
So
that, I just blocked off my room and did it.
yeah. So I think the sitting there with your own thoughts is kind of important. I think if a lot of people right now were to remember the last time that they weren't on their phone for a day,
Hmm.
that wasn't a vacation, that if they just had to sit there with their own thoughts, I think that'd be very interesting to see how that goes for a lot of people. So yeah, that was a very impressive challenge you did there.
Yeah, thank you. Um, but yeah, just I'll try and be relatively quick. But if you're an influencer watching this and you want to
Yep.
know how I approach this, so like myth busting would be something like that, where it's very clearly like composed, where you're gonna have to wait to the end in order to see the result of it. Like, is
Right.
it real? Is it fake? What's the result? What's the outcome? And so that performed really well. And number 3, of course, is lists, which is like really well. Like you see like top 10 ways to, I don't know, do something.
Right.
Um, these are really powerful because especially lists, just because there's that constant like hook gratification kind of thing. And I find like I literally, for all my videos, I map out a reward system of how I want to present a topic and then give it to them later. Like, you see a lot of videos and they say like, oh, wait for the end for this, and that's that gratification that you're waiting for. And once people receive gratification, they leave. And so it's all about presenting the like desire for the gratification without presenting the gratification. And if
Yeah.
sometimes I'll map it out where I'll have multiple hooks. Like I did like I trained like Mike Tyson for a day. And
Hmm.
the way that I presented that video, the way I like mapped out that video is I'd hook them at the beginning by using that Q&A form. And then also like the myth busting comes in with like the whole challenge itself. Like, you won't believe what this guy did. Like what is his actual workout? Like, what are the kind of
Yeah.
results they could bring, and like what does it look like? And then I also incorporated like list form style based on like the actual things that he's doing. So the way I structured that video was like, at the beginning it lets you know what it's going to be about. Train like Mike Tyson for a day. And then I said, you won't believe how long this took, which is going to be directly tied to the gratification that I'll bring at the end, which is just going to be answering that question. And then I
Hmm.
start by talking about me doing the workout. And then a little bit later, I talk about how many reps he does of each thing.
Yeah.
But I don't actually answer that until a little bit later on in the video. I go to talk about something else, like my next meal or something. And
Hmm.
that's because at this point, they've been like hooked twice, essentially. They're waiting to be gratified twice, so they're not going to leave.
Yeah.
Once they get to that point, and so you want to kind of introduce that early on into the video, you want to make the initial hook strong enough that they'll want to keep watching, but then at this point, they're not going to leave. And so you can get a really good watch time because you could just carry out the rest of the video and then satisfy them a little bit later. And so then I did, and I would walk them through the list of exactly how many of each set that he did. And
Yeah.
he's doing some crazy stuff. He was doing like 2,500 like decline sit-ups and like 500 like shoulder shrugs and
Yeah.
stuff. Ridiculous amounts. It was really difficult. But And then at the end, I said, like, this whole thing took me 8 hours. He probably could do it in less than 8 hours because he also does boxing training. I
Right.
just couldn't keep up. Like, he 2,500 sit-ups. That took forever. But yeah,
For
and then
sure.
at the beginning of the video, of course, like I'll come in and then I'll just look at that. I also, underneath the question that I'll look on the screen, I'll also have something else. This is usually some sort of question because
Yeah.
questions are great for forming connection between the viewer and the video. Like have you ever seen those like marble race videos or like those things where you get like a whole bunch of marbles through a track? It's like pick a color, see
Don't
who wins.
don't get me started. I was up for I think 4 hours. I want to say 3 years ago watching the Marble Olympics
Yeah,
videos.
yes.
Oh my Lord. They
And
have so many views. It is unbelievable.
it's insane. And I wondered because there's there's different ways to capture people's attention.
Yeah.
Like obviously one of them is like emotional connection. You want them to be emotionally invested in your video. And that usually comes through like being relatable, having something that you could tie back to them, making the video about them. Like
Yeah.
the number one rule that I kind of have lived by is that nobody actually cares about you. Kind of sounds harsh, but when it comes to videos, that's why a lot of my videos, especially the music ones at the beginning, they didn't do well because, like
Right.
I said, I just was doing things that I enjoyed, that I thought were cool. You know,
Yeah.
you guys didn't care. And so, having emotional, relatable content is great for connection. But
Yeah.
those marble videos didn't have that. So I was like, what is it about these marble videos that make people care?
Yeah.
And it's the question. It's the choice. People are very whenever people make a decision, they want to see the outcome of it. They're very self-driven, I guess. And it's like, when you sell something, if I'm going to sell you this pen, it's not like, oh, this pen's super cool, you should buy this pen. It's like, no, no, no. You tell me why you want this pen. Like, oh, when's the last time you used a pen? You used it for something important? How important was that? Wouldn't you want to make sure you have an important pen to go with that important thing?
Yeah.
And it's like you're basically telling me why you want it. So I just have that like simple question there just to kind of make them think about something and create more connection between the video, things like that. I'll have an emoji based on the mood or reaction that I want them to feel, and I'll
Yeah.
just kind of carry things out like this. So I did spend a lot of time like learning the structure back in like January. I am still working on it obviously,
Yeah.
but from there like I kind of knew that like when I started posting these videos back again, I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm just gonna follow this formula. And I kind of figured that it would do well. Like
Yeah.
just based on what I've learned. Like it's all theoretical. Like it just like I know that I could watch a video and typically know whether or not it's gonna go viral.
Yeah. For sure. So where do you think that, because all that stuff sounds extremely like great marketing classes and lessons and stuff like that. Was that a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of practice, TikTok, some TikTok advice, or it seems like a lot of it you came up with yourself?
Yeah, all of that. Yeah. A lot of YouTube videos, a lot of other advice, a lot of my own thinking. Like you said it's great to be like lost in your own thoughts and think about stuff, just only have your own thoughts. And I purposely take time out of my day every day to have that. Like when I'm
Hmm.
like walking my dog or something, or when I'm just lying in bed or taking a shower, I try and get into that theta brain state where I'm just creative and in my own thoughts and thinking about, okay, what's a way that I could, capture more attention? How can I
Hmm.
make this more engaging? How can I do this? And so it's just, things one by one, okay, so like text works well, but how does it work well? Like
Yeah.
what's the best time frame to put it, and why would that be the best time frame to put it? I always ask myself why for pretty
Hmm.
much everything.
Yeah. So as far as the path that we're on right now, when people see you compared to when you're in Young Canadians and mindset wise, do you feel like it's been ever evolving, or do you feel that it was once you got through those podcasts, this is kind of just who I am now?
I mean, I think it's always evolving, but those podcasts definitely helped. Those
Yeah.
podcasts, I definitely think was like the catalyst to me starting. It
Hmm.
was, it was like me saying, okay, you know what? Like I now believe that I could do anything, and
Yeah.
that with that belief, I'm gonna do anything.
Hmm. So when you give yourself a goal, say it's eating healthy or whatever goal, and you don't fulfill it 100%, how do you not give up at that point? Like, what's the mindset? Because I think most people, New Year's Eve is coming up, or depending on when this comes out, it has passed already. So people have already failed on their resolutions. How do you get kind of past those not being perfect in your life scenarios?
Well, it's actually really hard to be perfect, and most people won't. Like, you start a new diet, chances are you're gonna not stick to it 100%. And there's been things that I haven't stuck to 100%, obviously. And so I find it's just like doing something is better than nothing.
Yep.
And it's always important to just grow from it. Like when I started, I'll use planking as an example because it's a great exercise to just see your time.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do really well. Like I saw people, I saw this other guy on TikTok who was doing a plank for like, I think he did it for like an hour or something ridiculous. I don't know if his form was good or not, but
Wow.
like how, yeah, exactly. How, I don't know. And the world record is like 8 hours or something. Um, it's insane. I couldn't imagine, but
Yeah.
so I wanted to get like, I'm thinking like, oh, like I'm going to do half an hour, but I think I don't do half an hour, but it's like, okay, if I do 7 minutes, maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow, if I could do 8, then I'm improving. And so I just try and do it like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you're not always going to do the thing, but often when I fail, it's just kind of like, I'm going to keep working on it. I made a
Yeah.
video yesterday where I did I attempted an impossible pull-up, which is you do a pull-up and you go
Yeah.
1 minute down. I didn't make it. I was like 20 seconds off. And but I posted it because I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm just gonna
Mm-hmm.
keep working on
Yep. That already showed up on my For You page.
it.
Yeah. So, is there a group of people asking for your kind of help? Do you do any coaching with people? Is there kind of want to go in that direction at all, or what's kind of next steps for you?
I get a few DMs on Instagram, and I'll try and help people where I can. But typically, I just want to keep making content. Eventually, I want to get into longer form content because the problem is it's really difficult to spread a positive message and also get a lot of views. And the thing is, I need the views
Yeah.
because I need to make this my job. I need to make an income. Like I said, or like you said earlier, I'm going to be moving to Arizona at the end of next month, and I'm going to be doing that to do this like full time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to need like I'm going to need to make enough money, otherwise I'm not going to be able to pay rent or eat. And I
Yeah.
need to eat to make sure I get enough calories.
Yep.
So yeah, so I definitely need to make the views go up, but in order to really spread a message, I think it'd be better to have like a long form style of content. So I want to get onto YouTube
Yeah.
and see if I could spread a positive message in that way. But I feel like what a lot of people just need to hear is that they can start. That
Yeah.
like their goals aren't unachievable. Some people think that like, oh, like I have a thyroid issue, therefore it's impossible for me to lose weight. Like it might be harder, but you can do it.
Right.
Um, and like everyone is capable of doing anything that they set their mind to.
Mm-hmm.
So I just figure that if I have a purpose, I guess it would just to be to spread that message.
Mm-hmm.
And just to like in the same way that I'd listen to that podcast every day that helped me. I want to make content that every day, if people watch it, they'd be like, wow, like more is possible than I thought. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to be like this kid is doing a whole bunch of things that's just like I didn't think were possible,
Right.
but it looks like it's possible. So maybe more is possible in my life.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And for a long time, I used to kind of look down upon motivation and things of that nature because I thought, oh, well, that's not going to help for everybody. But the longer that we've been talking and whatnot and looking at other things, I think that's a huge part of the equation because it's not necessarily motivation as in, hey, I just want to go get it done, but like the questions that you ask yourself and the mindset is totally different than someone that is just like, oh, like I'm gonna give this a shot, or if someone is continuously failing diets or whatever it is, then that's just what they're gonna continuously doing because they're playing the same game and you're just playing a different game than everybody else is.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. No, I feel like mm, challenges and motivation are like important. It's obviously not everything. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't, if you want to get like if you want to be really toned and you want to have like good strength and stuff, like obviously go to the gym and target each muscle group to make sure that you're doing things in the best way. But I feel like for a lot of people, sometimes just better to like, just for that start, just to
Mhm.
that belief that you could do everything. I feel like it's super important. So,
Yeah.
and it helped
No.
me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if people are not coming here from your social media and they want to find your social media, where would they find you at?
Well, I'm on TikTok. That's my biggest platform. Um, I'm on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. But TikTok a lot more, and it's all just Tyler Cstari. It's my name, TYLERCSATARI, and yeah, you should be able to find me.
Wonderful. So the last two questions that everybody gets, what is your definition of health? Not the dictionary definition, but what are you kind of reaching for?
I think the definition of health is to be able to do things, like to be able to run if you need to, or to be able to do the next challenge, and not to be worried about like not being capable of like something or other because of like how much or too little, or how like if you're eating like too much or if you're eating too little. I feel like in order to be healthy, it just kind of comes with like the results that it brings.
Hmm. Absolutely. I love it. And then what is something from your life that you think someone listening to the podcast would be able to benefit from?
Don't give up, that you could do anything, but it takes time.
Mm,
And there's a lot of people that would like do something, try it for a day, try it for a week, oh they're not seeing results, and then like it's for everything. It's for fitness. I didn't see results and for like fitness for so long. Take a progress photo, that helps if you're doing fitness. But yeah, no, like it takes a really long time. Like for me, I've seen it take just a really long time for everything, including TikTok. Like when I dropped out, between actually getting my first video to hit like 3 million views, it took like 2 months, and I was working on it every single day. And like most people probably would have stopped by then, but because I didn't, it helped me kind of carry on forward. So like anything is possible, but you just have to be able to commit to it and keep doing it.
hmm. Absolutely. I love it. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you so much for having me on. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Boom. That was
Sweet.
great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So when